We are committed.
We are uplifting.
We are strong.
We are authentic.
On the field,
In the classroom.
In the community.
It's not just something we do.
it's how we live.
It's our way.
Always pushing one another.
Working towards the same vision. Stronger together.
This is the CUSA way.
Most of my memories as a little girl are in a volleyball gym.
My neighbor, Betsy, I wanted to be just like her. So she played volleyball, I wanted to play volleyball.
I was a terrible drawer, but ended up drawing a picture of myself, and I had a USA jersey on, and shockingly enough, it was number 7.
We single filed into the gym, and the first step that I took, I just had these crazy chills. It was a really emotional moment for me.
What do you want volleyball to do for you? Where do you want this path to take you? I want to be on the USA Olympic team. I want to play in the Olympics one day.
Surreal is the word that I have to use because it's something that I never have experienced before.
We're a university founded on the side of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without health care shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
We'll rewind the clock a little bit, and it was a pretty outstanding weekend for FIU. You go to Friday, a double overtime victory on a golden goal over FAU off the foot of Joris Alinvi, a dog pile on the field. Friday night celebration at FIU Soccer Stadium, and the best seat in the house for Joris Alinvi. You turn the page to Saturday evening at home against Rice, the best formation in football, the victory formation for the second straight week. James Morgan takes a knee to end the game in a victory for FIU as they improve to 3-0 in conference play. And then Sunday, a 5-set thriller coming back from 2-0 against Southern Miss as FIU volleyball continues to have a resurgent season, one of the best seasons in their recent history as FIU picks up another victory. This is Panther Talk Live at the FIU Graham Center with Butch Davis. I'm AJ Ricketts alongside the head coach. Thanks for joining us once again on Facebook Live. And another victory for FIU as they improve to 5-2, 3-0 in conference play, just one win away from bowl eligibility. And a very business-like performance from the guys. A slower start, but Rice wanted to take possession, really take their time with the football. Sure. Overcame that to get the offense going, and another good win, Coach.
Yeah, well, how about, I love the start of the show. I mean, obviously, what a great weekend for FIU athletics, and congratulations to the other coaches and stuff. But, yeah, you're right. Rice came into the game, and as I told you last week before in the show, if you watch the film isn't indicative of the record that they had. Yeah. I actually truly felt like that they should probably have maybe been 3-4 or 4-3 going into the game, just simply because the unbelievable effort. They are playing extraordinarily hard. They've got some talent. They'd self-inflicted themselves big plays, defensively that they'd given up, and some things that they'd done on turnovers. And lo and behold, that was kind of the results of the game, that we ended up hitting some big explosive plays, whether it was Maurice Alexander in the run or whether it was Austin Maloney on the pass. We got some big plays, and then the 3 interceptions. So those are the things that when you're building a new program, and I've been in that role before, you just can't self-inflict yourselves. And they came in with a game plan to try to minimize as much opportunities as our offense could have. We only got 4 possessions in the first half because they ran the ball, they milked the clock, they wanted to play as slow as they possibly could, and try to minimize the number of possessions, and really, and if you play well like they did that first drive, you drive down, you put yourself yourself in a chance to win the game.
It's funny you mentioned those explosive plays. In the first game or two of the season, you were looking for more of them. I certainly remember that Indiana game, a couple of home run passes fell incomplete. But now, I mean, you entered last weekend with more 40-plus, 50-plus, 60-plus, and 70-plus yard plays than anybody else in the conference.
Right.
Now, he didn't have a huge play, but Devontae Price was consistent throughout the course of the game, 79 yards on the ground on 12 carries. Also had 5 receptions for some first downs as well. He saw more action, I think, than any game this season and really established himself. It was nice that Price was out there because Phillips nicked himself up a little
I tell you what, AJ, he was a workhorse for us. And obviously you talked about, the rushes that he had for 79 yards. He's got very, very good hands. And you get the ball to him in the space, he's got a chance to make people miss. And you can see here like a little fake with the safety filling the lane. And instead of it being a 6, 7, 8-yard run, now it turns into a 23 or 24-yard run. So very proud of the way that Devontae's playing. He's just a great worker. Sean Phillips had a little bit of a tweak with the ankle, so it gave he and Napoleon Maxwell gave them probably an additional 5 to 8 reps that maybe would have gone to Sean, but they stepped up and both of them played well.
Tell me if I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it feels like the running backs have been used in the receiving game a lot more, getting a lot more yards and first downs and even passes out to the flat. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, a little bit of it, AJ. Obviously, we try to take a look at, what's the best way to get the ball in the hands of playmakers, whether it's the tight ends, the H-backs, the running backs, the wide receivers, and I think, and it's one thing about having a good experienced quarterback like James Morgan that he knows that he can spread the field and get the ball in the hands of a variety of different guys. And, and that's kind of the goal ultimately as you put an offensive game plan together. I can remember days when maybe you only had a limited number of big-time players, and all of a sudden, you got one receiver that's got 51 catches, and the next highest guy's got like 5. Well, from a defensive perspective, it's pretty easy to kind of defend that guy. Let's roll the coverage, let's double cover him, and try to make them beat you left-handed.
Yeah, from a defensive perspective, it felt like Rice looked at the tape from last week and said, let's try to replicate that a little bit. A lot of designed runs for Evan Marshman. How do you feel the team adjusted? In the second half, he had much less success on those power runs, those designed QB keepers. How do you feel the adjustments were received in the locker room?
Barely just fair enough, to be honest, AJ. I mean, it's one of the things that I've talked to the coaches about, I've talked to the players about. You cannot wait until halftime or after the game to fix things. That every team comes out and they pretty much show who they're going to be in the first quarter. You got a pretty good idea of their personnel groupings, where they're going to be, who they want to try to feature, and it is critically important for this football team. And we got 8 brand new starters on defense that every possession they come to the sidelines, they listen to the coaches and say, okay, we need to tweak this part of our defensive game plan. We need to line up this way. We need to adjust maybe the depth of the linebackers or the defensive line. And you can't go through 2 or 3 possessions before you get those things fixed. And that's one of the things with young, inexperienced players. They've got to do it better.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask, because you referenced that same point in the post-game press conference. Do you tend to see those adjustments better received from a veteran team when you're trying to change something on the sideline versus waiting until the halftime speech?
AJ, listen, I can tell you, and I'll go back to being at the Dallas Cowboys. We went 1-15 because we couldn't get adjustments on the sidelines. When you start winning Super Bowls, the players make adjustments after a play. They don't even wait till the sidelines. They're good enough. They know the scheme, and they just start making the adjustments in the huddle before the next play. And so we're not there yet, but we do need to be able to make sure that our kids, when they come to the sidelines, we give them good information that says, in this formation, in this alignment, in this split with a wide receiver, you can anticipate this. We need to make this adjustment. And those things we've got to continue to get better before this season's over with.
The run defense, it was nice to see Taylor Humphrey get in the backfield, I think, on the first play of the game. But throughout the game against Rice, if you take away Evan Marshman's 60-plus yards, I believe the running backs for Rice had a total of 57 yards throughout the course of the game. Austin Walter, their starting running back, 2.2 yards per carry. Obviously, you want to stop those QB design runs in the totality of the run game. But if you take that focal point away, how do you feel the run defense was?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit better, AJ. It's still not to the level that my expectations are. But you mentioned Taylor Humphrey. Obviously, this may have been one of his better games throughout the season. But I'll tell you 2 guys that really played well. Tier Tart probably had absolutely his best game. He had a lot of penetration, quarterback hits, tackles behind the line of scrimmage. Josh Little really showed up. He had several tackles and did a good job. So, my whole creation with the defense is it starts with building a great defensive line. Guys that can dominate the line of scrimmage, create chaos with the blocking schemes, and allow the linebackers to basically run free and be hitters in the holes. And and obviously we've got Ed Freeman. It's a transfer from the University of Texas. It's new for him. I mean, he's kind of in the same ballpark that Pharaoh McKeever was coming from NC State last year. Every game he gets a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more understanding, and his fits and stuff is starting to get better. Sage Lewis, who everybody says, well, he was a starter, it should be perfect, he should do everything exactly right. Well, he's not playing Will linebacker anymore. Now he's playing Mike linebacker, so he's got a lot more responsibilities, a lot different fits. But those two guys, along with the defensive line, they've got to do a great job of controlling the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Sage Lewis maybe undershadowed a little bit last year with all the headlines of Anthony Wynn and Trayvon Williams. Well, he's not overshadowed this season, leads the league in tackles than Ed Freeman, the transfer from Texas. He had his first interception as a Panther. Was a big one against Devin Marshman, helped turn the tide and really seal a deal for FIU. We'll chat much more about that Rice game when we come back after this. This is Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis, live from the FIU Graham Center.
We are committed.
We are uplifting.
We are strong.
We are authentic.
On the field,
In the classroom.
In the community.
It's not just something we do.
it's how we live.
It's our way.
Always pushing one another.
Working towards the same vision. Stronger together.
This is the CUSA way.
Most of my memories as a little girl are in a volleyball gym.
My neighbor Betsy, I wanted to be just like her. So she played volleyball, I wanted to play volleyball.
I was a terrible drawer, but ended up drawing a picture of myself, and I had a USA jersey on, and shockingly enough, it was number 7.
We single filed into the gym, and the first step that I took, I just had these crazy chills. It was a really emotional moment for me.
What do you want volleyball to do for you? Where do you want this path to take you? I want to be on the USA Olympic team. I want to play in the Olympics one day.
Surreal is the word that I have to use because it's something that I'd never have experienced before.
We're a university founded on the side of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without health care shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
Well, pretty neat this past week to have QB12 back in the building. Alex Magoo honored between the first and second quarters. Great to see old friends, folks you helped build a legacy, a foundation at this program with. And hanging out with your brother, too. Literally hanging out with family and also getting some work in. There are no bye weeks in the NFL. Bryn Renner caught Magoo in action as that was Friday afternoon, I think, putting in some work at Ricardo Silva Stadium. I know you love seeing QB12 back in the building.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think Alex was like begging us, please send that video to Pete Carroll so Pete would know that I didn't just go to South Florida to hang out on the beach. I actually did work out, but it was great seeing him at practice. He hung out with the players in the locker room, and they loved seeing him. And, that's kind of the culture, AJ, that we're trying to build where everybody's family. Once you graduate, I mean, we get Trayvon Williams. Anthony Wynn came back when the Jets had their open date. And Tony Gator was in there. He's still playing in the Canadian Football League. He was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we love having him coming around. It's good.
Well, I thought what was really neat was he jetted straight from the airport.
Yeah.
to practice. I mean, that was his first stop.
Yep.
He got off the plane. He headed to Ricardo Silva State, to the practice field, I should say, and he was in the team stretch after practice. It was like he never left.
I know it. And he's awesome. And it was fun kind of listening to him talk about the culture and what it's like being with the Seattle Seahawks. And he talked about the 12th man, their fan base, how unbelievable intimidating it is for opponents. It's probably the loudest single stadium in all of the NFL, and you know what he does, and he really likes the idea that, and I think Pete Carroll's very brilliant to do this. They actually take the practice squad players on all the road games, because you never know. I mean, in the NFL, those practice squad players, they could be the practice squad player, and next week they might actually be the starter at some position because of the limited number of players. So they need the experience of traveling on the road, listening to all the game plans. I think it's really good for Alex to go through that.
Yeah, no doubt that encourages the development of a player on a practice squad and also keeps their engagement with everything moving forward. So as we move forward with this season, you know, there's some rumblings around the program right now. I know we had some position changes this offseason. Just comes to mind out of the blue, you know, Stanley Thomas Oliver, Furman Silva, Maurice Alexander going from quarterback to wide receiver. Obviously, that's been the story. But I hear some rumblings after his first ever rushing touchdown. I think James Morgan might want to make a position switch to running back. I mean, he looks pretty good on that scamper. I mean, what are your thoughts here?
Don't hold your breath on that.
He made a man miss there, Coach.
Well, it's one of the things, obviously. I mean, we learned a difficult lesson last year. I mean, Alex was spectacular in the gun run things and being able to pull the ball and threaten the edges and make them play balance. Well, the first part of it, he gets hurt in the bowl game, and so it's kind of like you're like, should we let the quarterback have all of those opportunities? And, and we kind of gotten to the point that we feel like that, hey, pick and choose the opportunities, win, but if they're going to totally disrespect and they're not going to play the quarterback, then we're going to have to, let the quarterback pull the ball, and that way, to make the defense play honest. And he did a great job. It was a good read, popped into the end zone, scored his first rushing touchdown. So that was
not just at FIU, but between his time at Bowling Green and here at FIU, his first rushing touchdown. Was asked after the game what feels better, passing a touchdown or rushing for one. He kind of hesitated for a second. He said it was even. It was the politically correct answer, but a strange feeling for sure for the new QB12 for FIU. All right, back to we had one Twitter question this week here we go, Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis. It's not Carlos is wondering what goes into a two-part question. He said, what goes into away game prep? And then also, what's Butch's least favorite and favorite stadium to visit, whether it's Conference USA or in your entire time as a state? Let's start with away game prep. Is there anything different from a home-to-road game prep?
We try to make every game exactly the same. Even on Fridays, whether we're on the road or whether we're at home, we do our walkthrough in our own stadium. A lot of the meetings are done in the stadium before we get on a plane or before we go to the hotel here in Miami and spend the night before the game. Then Saturday, when you're at the hotel, it's almost identical. The wake-up, breakfast, walkthroughs, the meetings and those things is identical. The only difference is you're playing the game in a different stadium. And I just think it builds a level of kind of consistency for the players, that the routine all week long is identically the same. And some of these stadiums, to be honest with you, since this is my first kind of tour through the first 2 years of being in Conference USA, you don't know much about it. I know that Western Kentucky was probably the premier football program in Conference USA, for a period of time. 3 or 4 times they were the conference champions, playing in bowl games. I know that they have a very, very good fan base. They fill their stadium. A lot of people show up. And so this will be interesting to be my first time to go to that stadium.
Yeah, still plenty of venues which hasn't been to yet here in Conference USA play, but making the rounds was Old Dominion earlier this season, a big 17-point comeback now this week in Western Kentucky. We'll preview our matchup with the Hilltoppers when we return on Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis.
We are committed.
We are uplifting. We are strong.
We are authentic.
On the field,
in the classroom, in the community.
It's not just something we do.
It's how we live.
It's our way.
Always pushing one another.
Working towards the same vision.
Stronger together.
This is the CUSA way.
Most of my memories as a little girl are in a volleyball gym.
My neighbor Betsy, I wanted to be just like her. So she played volleyball, I wanted to play volleyball.
I was a terrible drawer, but ended up drawing a picture of myself, and I had a USA jersey on, and shockingly enough, it was number 7.
We single filed into the gym, and the first step that I took, I just had these crazy chills. It was a really emotional moment for me.
What do you want volleyball to do for you? Where do you want this path to take you? I want to be on the USA Olympic team. I want to play in the Olympics one day.
Surreal is the word that I have to use because it's something that I never have experienced before.
We're a university founded on the side of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without health care shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
They'll bring 5, now 6 come. Magoo scrambling. Take a listen. The first tackle, he'll fire this deep towards the end zone. It's a jump ball. It's a touchdown. Touchdown, FIU. Alex Magoo launched it into the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers. 2-yard officially on the stat sheet, but much longer than a 42-yard pitch and catch from Alex Magoo to Darius Scott. One of the plays that highlighted a wacky 2017 matchup with Western Kentucky. We'll look back and now preview the 2018 Western Kentucky game. But first, going back to that game last season, a matchup with the team that had won the conference championship back-to-back years. Towards the end of the season, so many teams in Conference USA were right around 6 wins that it really felt you had to get to 7 to really guarantee yourself a spot. So you're trying to guarantee bowl eligibility. You're going up against the defending Conference USA champions, and you trailed in the second half 13-10, but a number of wacky plays throughout the game that helped spark a run in the second half. You outscored Western Kentucky 28-7 in the second half, and a lot of notable plays from that game. What stands out to you when you look back on that
some of the big plays, obviously, that Alex made in that game. I mean, obviously, the one you just saw in the video where Darius Scott, who had been injured and had not played much early, had come back that week and was starting to get a roll. He did a great job of uncovering himself. Anytime the quarterback, starts to scramble, it's really critical that the receivers have a pattern that falls into what you want them to do. It's not just stand there and wait till he finds you. I mean, you got to try to uncover yourself, and Darius did a good job with that. So you remember that thing. I know how hard fought it was, and like you talked about, Western Kentucky having previously been the conference champions, they've recruited well. They got an environment where their kids really believe that they're going to win, and so this will be a big challenge this week.
We mentioned the wacky and notable plays in that game. Western Kentucky, they fumbled on a punt, which Devontae Price returned for a touchdown. You had the fake field goal where Stone Wilson lined up as quarterback, and probably he feels a little disrespect that he wasn't involved in the quarterback conversation this year after throwing a touchdown in that game. He had a lot of crazy plays, as you see right here.
Yep. No, this was really unusual, but it speaks to the volume of the way that our coaches really try to put an emphasis on trying to be alert and be ready to make plays like that. When the ball gets, the punter starts scrambling around, he tries to kick it, ball goes on the ground, Devontae Price scoops it up and scores. It was really big, and then obviously, you can see here, obviously, the things that's going on. You see Stone go back and throw the ball on a throwback. And
there's Pharaoh McKeever.
Yeah, Pharaoh McKeever, and, he does a great job there getting into the end zone. It was kind of creative way to get the ball in the hands of guys that can make plays.
I'll tell you what, Stone owed McKeever a steak dinner after that play because he hit him at the 12, maybe put a little too much arc on the throw, but Pharaoh ensured that Stone would still get a touchdown pass on his stat sheet.
No doubt.
That was a great game, of course, a big victory for the Panthers on the way to an 8-win season. All right, now looking forward to this Saturday. On the records, on the win-loss sheet, 1-6, but Western Kentucky could very easily be 5-2. They have 4 losses by 3 points this season, including a game at Louisville in which they led 14-6 in the fourth quarter. Losses to Louisville, Marshall, Maine, and then, of course, this past week to Old Dominion by just 3 points. One of the craziest finishes in college football this last week to Old Dominion as we play the highlights there. So a team, you said in the post-game press conference, oftentimes a wounded animal is the most dangerous, and that's, again, the situation this week.
Not only wounded animal, but teams that are talented. In Western Kentucky, I mean, one of the things that obviously has hurt them last year at the end of the season and stuff, the quarterbacks being nicked up and those kinds of things. But I'm going to tell you what, AJ, all you do, just our players, I hope, appreciate football enough. You turn the film on, you start watching these guys play. Last week on offense, they were electric. I mean, you go out there and score the amount of points that they did. ODU had a hard time getting them under control and was extraordinarily fortunate to win the game. You talked about it. I mean, scoring, an opportunity with 3 untimed downs at the end of the game. I mean, I don't know if I've ever even heard of that, much less ever seen it. And, but ODU, I mean, they beat Virginia Tech, and you go, well, golly, they're talented enough, and they've struggled and had some seasons. And now the two teams, it's almost like they're playing in the Twilight Zone a little bit, from the standpoint that crazy things happen during the course of the game. And obviously, I'm sure Western Kentucky, after controlling the game and being ahead, that was a little bit of a heartbreaker, which I think, will challenge them to be even tougher and more focused this week.
Yeah, and they have a number of quarterbacks that have been put in action this season, but their head coach, Mike Sanford, hired in a similar time frame as yourself, December 2016. He's in his second season, was the former offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach at Notre Dame. And like you said, their offense, it can be very impressive at times. The defense is going to have to
And the thing about it, AJ, is that they are balanced. I mean, they're not a team that's just trying to beat you with one dimension. I mean, they did a great job running the ball last weekend. They did a great job with the quarterback getting the ball to a variety of different receivers. They play multiple personnel groupings. You'll see 3 and 4 wide receivers. You'll see them with 2 tight ends, and so they're a tough team to get prepared for.
Looking forward to it this weekend on the road. BN Sports will have the call. We'll also be on 610 WIOD. All right, for the final time, let's look back at Rice. The top 5 plays of the game, FIU and Rice from this past week. And here we go, Coach. First top 5, number 5, 33-yard pitch and catch to Maloney. This was the play called earlier in the drive, and then they retargeted him, and he got the touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And a great job of the offensive line picking up the blitz. It put them on an island man-to-man. We had tried taking a shot 2 plays before. The ball was a little bit overthrown, but we felt like that it was something that we wanted to take advantage of.
What a season Austin Maloney is having. Number 4, the former QB, 51 yards to the house. Maurice Alexander, his 5th touchdown of the season. He's one of only 2 players in college football with a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a punt return TD on the year.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, he's one of those kids that you just got to, every time you drop the game plan, you got to make sure he's getting touches.
Hey, look who it is again. Stone Wilson showing off the athleticism. A big hit delivered. It was originally called targeting, and that was overturned, and Stone Wilson making things happen on trick plays once again.
Yeah, the only thing I told him was, I said, okay, obviously if they're not rushing and you got a chance to run, this is what happens. But get out of bounds after you make the first down. You're not a Heisman Trophy tailback running the football.
Oh, he doesn't want to hear that.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, here's Rashard Dames laying out the number 2 play. He's had another great game of coverage.
And just a great job of the coverage, running stride for stride, tracking the ball, looking the ball over his shoulder, and then laying out and making a big play. And that was a big play. I mean, getting that, anytime you take a possession away from the opponent, it's really good.
And the top play against Rice this past weekend, Morgan dropping a dime to Shamar Thorne.
Yeah.
You love this efficiency. 2 touchdown catches, 2 catches in the whole year. Both those catches have been for touchdowns this year.
Get him the ball more, right? Exactly.
You need to throw it to him every time.
Yeah, and it's good getting him back. He and Bryce Kennedy missed the first 4 or 5 games of the season, and with injuries, and now getting them back out there. They played a lot in the second half of the season a year ago. Getting him back on the field, his speed, the ability to put him into the rotation with the other receivers, it really helps the depth.
Yeah, it's been great having him and Bryce Singleton back in the lineup, as they're certainly going to be contributors throughout conference play. All right, Coach, as we wrap things up here, you look at where we are midway through the season as conference play continues. 5-2, a win away from bowl eligibility in the driver's seat in the conference standings. What's your impression?
I got to coach you up now. Our record's not 5-2; it's 0-0, and we only have 1 game, and that's Western Kentucky. Everything else is insignificant.
Fell into the broadcaster's trap.
There you go.
That's my
exactly.
Bad. Turnover on myself.
Yeah,
0-0. So
you're like the fake news, right? Fake news.
No.
Okay.
Real news.
Real news.
All right, so
0-0 Western Kentucky.
All right, what's the biggest key to go 1-0? Not 6-2, but 1-0. How does that happen?
Just we got to continue to make sure that we have great practices. I mean, it really truly is. How you play on Saturday is a direct correlation to the way in which you practice. I'll give you a great example if we got time. Last week in practice, Ike Brown had 3 interceptions in practice. He had an interception in the game. And it does. I mean, you make plays during the week, getting prepared, you're probably going to show up and make plays. So, obviously, that's the big challenge for us. And then our team has got to learn to make sure that we take from sideline adjustments and stuff. We got to continue to grow. We got to put fires out earlier in the game.
Hey, just want to say one of the Twitter questions that was asked was, when we make the conference championship game, who would you rather play, UAB or North Texas? And I didn't ask that. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Real news right here. Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Great. Thank
Looking
you.
forward to Western Kentucky on the road. Thanks for joining us, as always, on Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis. We're out here every Monday. Come and join us at the Graham Center. This has been Panther Talk Live. Take care.